Most depictions of Christ throughout history depicted pain, agony, and suffering, but Mr. Kim has revolutionized modern Christian art. He rarely depicts scripture directly, but rather he reimagines these personal, intimate moments with Christ, which brings up the question, is Yongsung Kim revolutionizing modern Christian art, or is he bringing it to where it was always meant to be?
Wow. I will tell you, no doubt, Yongsung Kim is revolutionizing Christian art as we understand it. Interesting to say, wow, is this where it's supposed to be anyway? If you consider, most Christian art as we understand it, in one way or another, is probably controlled by the Catholic Church more than anything for everything we can conceive of. And a lot of that's because, they were the wealthiest and most influential spreader of what Christianity was. Stained glass windows were really, really important in telling the story of the Bible because of the illiteracy of your average person, and B, the fact that they really, kept control over a lot of things. The Mass was in Latin, until the 60s. There's a lot of stuff about how the church operated that kept stuff out of the people's hands. But the stories that were told in the stained glass windows, they had a term for it, a Latin term, of course, Biblia Pauperum, something very close to that, which is just Bible of the poor. And that's because nobody could read, so we're going to tell the story of Jesus using these windows. Those are pulled from Scripture. You're going to get Nativity, you're going to get the Sermon on the Mount, you're going to get all these different places. So most of Christian art through history was just reflective of continuing to tell those same stories that Christian art told. You also had this underlying thing of you need to be, I'm not going to say Catholicism is a guilt-based religion, but there's a heck of a lot of guilt involved. And you should be paying attention to this because, man, Christ suffered. And look at how bloody and terrible his suffering was. Look at how poor he was. All these other things along those lines where the social condition or the physical condition of what was going on was really important, an important thread in religious art. Yongsung Kim does just the opposite. He paints a relationship between you and Christ, the commoner in Christ, all his sheep and everything like that, his flock. And he does do some scriptural type things, but he'll even take scripture and turn it on his ear. You are Peter/Simon going beneath the surface. I am here to save you. So the revolutionary thing is that you can have an independent relationship with Christ. And I'll say there's some people over time that kind of helped bring that phase along. And then the color and joy and love that what he depicts, every sheep is always smiling. Jesus is always smiling. Everybody's happy and loving to be here and enjoying this Christian experience.
What I think is so cool about that point is that from the beginning of time, Christian art was used to tell the story of Jesus, which
always,
it was the center. When you, even now, when you think about how do I see Jesus Christ, it's probably that picture hanging on your mom's wall that you grew up with. Christian art was always used to tell the story, but are we stepping into a new story? Do you feel like this is a new era of Christian art?
There's no doubt that we are in a new era of what Christian art is. I think it has been coming. You can go back, let's even just take the last 30 years, and you take people like Greg Olson, Liz Lemon Swindle, who were at the front end of painting Christ as a regular person, wearing the regular clothes, doing the regular things that we were doing, but most importantly, not just interacting with the people that are in the Bible stories, but interacting with people in a more common type thing. I remember I was one of the first people, I was the first person to publish Liz Lemon Swindle's artwork and with another company that I had. And I remember walking into a gallery where our artwork was hanging, and it's a piece called Hold On Tight, and there's a kid sitting on Jesus' shoulder getting a piggyback ride, and they're both smiling. And I remember my reaction to this day of that, which is, that guy doesn't smile. You know, he has thorns on his head. He's on the cross. Things aren't good, you know, and just the opposite. Wow, look at this guy. He was a man that lived on earth. That's part of what the Jesus story is. You know, he walked among us. He lived with us. He interacted with us. And leaving that, let's call it the overriding guilt, here's the story as it's supposed to be, to here's a relationship between you and Christ. I think that's the revolution that happened. That's the change that started to happen.
Artists, I feel like, started paving the small single-track dirt road for Yongsung Kim to blow through it and create, you know, this massive lane highway. And he's now really the driving force, I feel like, in modern Christian art and what Christ is depicting. So take me a little bit back farther into Yongsung Kim's story, because he wasn't always Christian.
He's from Korea. He's Asian. I cannot tell you for sure if he was Taoist or something along those lines, but he was not Christian when he was born. At a young age, he had an experience where he said, you know, and he's had a bunch of these things, you know, so to him, direct communications with God, telling him to do certain things. So the first thing was becoming Christian, and as he did that, he was exploring all things Christian and going into Christian stores and things along those lines. And he started going in, and he was looking at the artwork that was in there. And again, it was the kind of heavy-duty, depressing, suffering, all these things. Those were the images that were available to buy. And his reaction was, well, that's not how I feel. This guy makes me feel wonderful. This guy makes me feel loved. This guy makes me want to love and have other people feel wonderful. I should be doing artwork that centers on that. Took him another 20 years to figure out exactly what that was, but pretty early on in his teens, he had this idea that, and he had been even told, you know, and he said, God will come back to me every now and then and tell me, you know, I told you, you know, the way I'm being depicted isn't really great. You know, I'm choosing you to help change what that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so cool. What's so unique about Mr. Kim, I mean, we've had the opportunity to spend time with him, is he is so genuine. He's 100% authentically him. And when you look at his art, it really shows through.
It's why art works. And it's always a combination of things. But, you know, take Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had all the physique and everything like that to be a basketball star. But he also had this internal will and drive to be a basketball star. Or a Mick Jagger who, you know, Mick Jagger's Mick Jagger. What you see is what you get. You know, there's no surprises. And I'll say it's the same thing with Yongsung Kim. He has the physical attributes that were necessary to become a successful artist. But he also had the mind and soul that is also, he loves Jesus. You can't fool people for long. You might be able to put an image or two out there that says, and people go, wow, you really kind of communicated something. You cannot be as consistent. You cannot touch as many people's lives. You cannot do things if you are faking it. And when you meet him, he's that real. I think about the worst thing you're ever going to bump into is that he can get hangry. You know, so he is from
Yep.
time to time going to be like, hey, it's time for me to eat and things. But, you know, again, human being. But he is all that joy and color. And when you meet him, which you have the chance to do now because he's in the country again, and we got a series of dates that he's going to be having, you're going to be like, wow, you're the guy that painted this. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is you who created this piece of art.
I don't think a lot of people realize just how lucky we are to have an opportunity to interact with him. Like, he is from South Korea, the heart of South Korea, and he just is a humble guy who likes to paint. But his God has taken him on this journey to really change the world. His art has impacted millions of people.
Yeah.
And you have the chance to sit down and talk to him. Like, that's so cool.
When you have these chances to interact with people, and if you're touched by them, to meet them and carry in a stronger sense what that touch was and have a more concrete memory to draw upon, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life.
You've been with Mr. Kim pretty extensively. What experiences have you had with him and with people interacting with his artwork?
Man, you get the whole gamut. One of the thing that is obviously the most impressive is I've sold a lot of artwork in my life. I sold a lot of beautiful artwork. I've sold a lot of expensive artwork. I've never had anyone after getting that piece of artwork come up and say, you know, I was going to kill myself until I saw that picture. And I think that's the most staggering thing. And if it's happened 20 times since I've been hanging out with him, that's a good, safe number. Or I lost my child and your artwork helped me get through the suffering. I went through a terrible divorce. You know, I lost my job. I did all these things. And you've got this Christ that Yongsung Kim portrays that isn't the person that suffered and did all these things. He's got this Christ that is, I am with the hand of God. I am there for you when you are over your head, and I'm going to pull you out. With the calming embrace, I am there to hold you and comfort you when things are hard. Little one, where you have a single sheep in this beautiful field, and it's just you and Jesus going back and forth. He does this imagery that creates that one-on-one relationship. And so you get all these stories from people that we kid about the fact that, like, if we're at a Costco, but it happens inside the gallery, it happens when we're at a Deseret, it happens anywhere that we really are, where somebody is, we're all suddenly in tears because of the story that we heard that is just so low. How can God allow these things to happen where people get so low? You know, always the question that we have. But how they found solace in the imagery that Yongsung Kim created because it's so joyful and full of life and the wonder of what God's power is, that, you know, I don't want to say, I'll say it's at times it's hard to remember the specific story, A, because it's so wrenching, and B, because you're just going, wow. And they're just like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I found you. I'm so happy that I found your artwork. It got me through that.
Yeah, I would say obviously it's a culmination of a lot of things, but there is no doubt in my mind that Yongsung Kim is inspired by God and that his ministry is through his artwork. It's not always the artist that sells the work. It's often the audience that resonates with the message that he's trying to portray. What do you feel like Yongsung Kim's message is, if you could summarize it?
Boy, all I can, first thing that popped in my head was the Ted Lasso, football is life. And I'll just sit there and say, God is life. Yongsung Kim loves Jesus and Jesus's works and God, and wants you to look around you and see the beauty and the wonder and the awe of this world and what it inspires. he kind of turns the knob up on things. So the place he paints, it isn't necessarily here or there. You know, you've got this kind of heaven where everyone's on top of a cloud and, you know, angels flopping around and stuff like that. And that's not what he paints. He's a good enough painter that he can paint specifically you, me, 100%, Mount Timpanogos, you name it, New York City, if he wanted to.
I've seen some of his portraits. They're perfect.
He can paint anything perfectly. It's inordinately intentional, this exaggerated colors, soothing, wonderful colors. His people, sheep, anyone that he puts in a space where, even if you really take a look at his Christ, you're going to find it's not an incredibly rendered individual. You know, there's at least with a lot of the scenics, you know, he does a lot of faces and everything like that. But when you look at the big, broad pieces he's doing, man, that guy is just he can be whoever you need him to be or I need him to be. And that's really intentional and important on his part. So, yeah, why? What is it that he's doing that's unique and different? Again, he's painting this vision that he's been given, intentionally trying to focus on what is good, wonderful, and loving about the Christian experience, about Jesus Christ, about you and me. And let's just make that a colorful and wonderful thing to be.
Do you feel like his artwork will be numbered among the greats?
Always a tough call. I'll say, of course. You can't influence that many people. It's going to come down to how everything's edited, you know, but there's no doubt that somebody that comes in and changes the way we see the world or changes the way we see something that is significant, and the first, you're always going to be remembered. That change from this is what's in the stained glass window, this is what the story is that we are supposed to regurgitate, this is the living experience that we have with Christ. That seems to be the evolution that we're making with our religion, all for the better, I would like to believe. You know, we're all people. We're all, you know, we're global. You know, there's another thing. Yongsung's from overseas. You know, he paints a global vision of Christ, not a Italian vision of Christ or, you know, the papal vision of Christ or the, you know, an American version of Christ. You know, he paints a global Christ, a Christ who embraces the world. Actually, an image that we know is coming over from him right now. So,
walk me through. I think this is kind of interesting because he is overseas. There's a very unique process that we go through to receive his new artwork. What does that look like?
I hate it. Because we go. He loves kind of not letting us see what he's working on. He can send pictures every day. He's a tech guy. You know, we could get all these things. And he loves that concept of unveiling and having us see it for the first time. And one of the things about the digital world is you can become visually satiated so quickly. And if he did a piece 4 months ago, but he's not coming over here till now, and we have done nothing but expose everybody to that image, there's no joy of discovery, which is part of when he comes over every time. I know we get to do it in the building. I mean, he literally comes over with the tube of prints. We open up the tube, and we're like, wow, that's awesome. Look at him. Oh, next one. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun. And I'll just say, wow, you get to do that, you know, when we have him, say, at the gallery or something like that, we're having an original show, you really have the chance to kind of see everything for the first time. maybe 24 to 48 hours after we've had the chance to see it for the first time. And I'll just say it's kind of fun. I'm not going to call it game he likes to play, but I'll say really understands that idea of let's make it special. Let's come in and see something new. And that, that joy of discovery is there every time he comes.
Yeah. I can't imagine how special that is for him. Is he's creating this environment where you almost get to rediscover Christ again through each one of his pieces.
Oh, plus, he's confident, assured in everything that he's doing. But man, any artist, I put my heart and soul into that piece. And not that he wants the validation, but he wants you to love it. And what better reward than having people just go, wow, I love it. That's so cool. And that's kind of that joy of discovery.
Mm-hmm. What I love about Yongsung Kim is he's so uniquely him, and he loves what he does, and he's just doing it because he loves Jesus. He's not in it for social media or fame or money.
Oh, we know that he will not do what he does not want to do.
Yeah.
You cannot stage something with him. He's a genuine article. And like I say, he won't sit there and pretend that he's painting a painting for the camera. He's got to be working on something. So if you ever see him painting something, he's physically working on it, whether it be an enhanced canvas or a original painting. Anytime you see him working on something, he's working on something. Why? Because he won't fake it. And nobody would ever know. But that's the level of genuineness for what he's doing, and it's the level of originality you see from him.
Everything that he creates is a masterpiece. And yeah, like we've been to his studio. It is so reverent. It is a place that he invites God into. You can tell. And It's a very sacred space. We didn't know this, but when we went over to Korea, we were there with a translator, and he said, you are one of maybe 3 or 4 people that have ever seen him paint.
Yeah.
And so the ability, like that behind the scenes view that you guys get of him painting on camera has only ever been documented 3 times, ever.
Yeah. I know that when Artful came in and said, oh, we want to film you doing this, like I say, ultimately they filmed overseas because he wasn't going to set up the faux thing here. They wanted him to be sketching out in a location, and he's like, but I'm not going to sketch this location. I'm going to, I wouldn't sketch this location, better way to say it. And so I'm not going to do that. So he came in with something that he had started sketching that was more a portrait of somebody, and he worked on that in that space. But like I say, it's amazing the succinctness or the direction, or just like I say, it's real. Just every time it's real. Why do people react? Because that's who he is, and what he's doing is real. It's just never faked.
Yongsung Kim is 100% authentically Yongsung Kim.
Yeah. What you see is what you get.
So we've got Yongsung Kim. He flies in tonight. I guess by the time people see this, he would have flown in 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Walk me through what opportunities people have to actually meet this artist, because it's an incredible opportunity to meet him.
We'll be everywhere. We're going to be at BYU's Women's Conference. We've got a couple of dates that will be at Deseret stores. We've got, I think, 7 Costco appearances. We'll be at our Haven Light Gallery in Orem with paint nights and grand unveiling of his original artwork. We do a couple of other small private things along that period as well. But yeah, it's a very, very full 10 days that he's here.
Yeah. And to give some context, he comes for 10 days at Mother's Day, and is it another 10 for Christmas?
Yeah, usually Christmas we get a couple more days out of it. We try to have him here for 3 weekends if possible. It's kind of 2 weeks, but
3 weekends.
You make it 3 weekends because we try to, we'll go as far south as Arizona and as far north as Idaho. So we have a little more time that we try to get in there.
But there's really 2 opportunities a year to meet Yongsung Kim, to get a peace sign, to
Mother's Day and
see his
Christmas.
originals, Mother's Day and Christmas. Yongsung Kim genuinely has revolutionized the current era of modern Christian art. He is paving the way for many artists to create a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and he really is authentically Yongsung Kim. He loves Jesus Christ, and he wants you to feel Christ's love in every single piece that he has. He truly is an incredible artist, and we're so grateful that you have been able to bring him over and to give people the opportunity to experience his artwork and really feel the love that Jesus Christ has for each of us. So, Scott, thank you for all that you do, and thanks for coming on the show.
Excellent. Thanks for having me here. Great talking about Yongsung.